Welcome, everybody. This is a brand new channel on YouTube called Common Ground. My name's Chris. That's Josh. And we're going to bring to you a little bit of political talk. And I hope everybody enjoys it. If you're interested in knowing a little bit more about us, feel free to look at our description on our channel. And we're going to get right into this. We're basically just two separate guys. We're going to have a lot of political talk, real topics, and then we're going to come up with some solutions. Y'all are going to find out real quick who's the Republican and who's the liberal Democrat here. Yeah. So we're just going to jump. Anybody wants to get to know us, feel free to come. We're going to do this once a week, and we'll all get to know each other together on the fly. So
yeah, for sure.
All that said, Josh, where do you want to go? What's one of the topics of the week we should dive into?
Yeah, I think I saw some sources reporting on the AOC tweet, how she was over in Japan. I think we should touch on that. Just make that the inaugural topic here and see where.
I'm definitely in with that. I think everybody's going to know in the next 30 seconds which side of the aisle each of us is on.
Exactly.
So basically, you and I try to keep up with some current topics and stuff. But the way I understand it, she was part of some congressional delegation over in Japan, the United States Congressional Study Group. Whatever that is, I don't know, because we have all these moving parts to the government. But apparently while she's over there, she got herself in a little bit of trouble, which isn't uncommon for AOC. So she basically wants to push her views on LGBTQ and her opinions on that, on the Japanese people, based on a tweet that she got from a Japanese lawmaker, I believe. And correct me if I'm wrong about it. There's so much information on the internet. But as I understand it, somebody said something that she wasn't real fond of.
That's exactly correct. Yeah, it was the aide to the prime minister in Japan. So right. The aide had tweeted out something or had made some, it was off the record remarks, but that got leaked out. So that's what she was reacting to. That's where the whole news comes in and why she had made a comment on it.
And he said something about like he didn't want to live near gay people or something, right?
Yes.
And yes. Mind you, this is all taking place over in Japan, right?
Correct.
So let me just say this. I think we need to draw this back to our country. Okay, let's keep our ideology and our stuff here. AOC loves to want to push this all over the world. That's her opinion. That's fine. She's a representative of this country. I'm not real happy about that. But I think she needs to worry a little bit more about what's going on here instead of trying to push her wokeism on a sovereign country. I don't agree. If you're over there trying to handle some real business that affects our country, but we have enough of the LGBTQ argument here in this country that we have to handle. There's no need for her to be branding this all over the world.
Yeah. I mean, I completely understand. A lot of people are, don't want us pushing our ideals on other countries and things like that. This case, what she was reacting to was that comment that he said that he wouldn't live near or next to a gay person. The thing where AOC and where I kind of understand where she's coming from is that Japan is part of the G7. Part of the reason why they were over there's a congressional delegation right before the G7 happens. But Japan is the only member of the G7 that does not back or support LGBTQ rights, and they do. They're kind of slow getting into it. The 65% of people in Japan, according to some polls that were run over there, support gay marriage and gay rights. So basically, she was trying to make the argument that since Japan is part of the G7, they're the only member of the G7 that does not have rights for LGBTQ.
Yeah. Yeah, the G7, I guess the Gang of Seven, they call it, is coming up in May. I don't quite understand why she and whoever else is in this delegation, the only other guy I could find was Mark Takano. I think he's a representative from California. I don't really understand why they're even over there. However, here's my stance. It's their business if they're in the G7 or not. It's Japan's business, and they happen to be working on a bill over there. I guess I don't know how their government functions, but it's to promote understanding of LGBTQ stuff. So they are engaged in this world. I think the whole planet is engaged in gay rights. I also believe in gay rights, but in this country, I don't care what they're doing in the G7. I don't care who supports it, who doesn't. But in this country, we're all shrouded under one thing. We are all Americans, regardless of your sex, race, all this stuff. I don't care about any of that. We're all American citizens here, and we're all shrouded under the civil rights protections that we have in our United States Constitution. That's that. It's a very cut and dry topic to me. I don't want to be gay. I'm not gay. I don't understand it. But if you want to be, hey, this is America. That's one thing that makes us unique from everywhere. I don't have a problem with you. I don't condone what the guy in Japan said. I think that's ignorant. I will say, if I had a gay neighbor, fine, so be it. I don't understand it. I'm not going to do it. But understand me that I have a right to not want to do it or participate in that. But what more does AOC want? Like, they are actively engaged in this. So what does she want? I mean,
Yeah, and essentially she was just making the point that they should be supportive of their rights as well, and that them being they're like I said, they're the only member that does not have these rights enshrined in law. So pushing, and I can see people are saying, well, why are we involved in other people's foreign affairs, things like that, but it happens all across the world, and sharing ideas. Part of the delegation that were over there, it's not the only thing that they talked about. It's kind of just the newsworthy clip that came out, but lots of other things came up during that also. So it wasn't just she's not over there just peddling the rights for gays and everything, but it's part of the topic
and
that came up, and it's part of the human rights. So I definitely
that
understand where
is.
she's coming from. AOC is my girl, so I definitely
Oh no, that's gonna make blood shoot out of my eyes. That curdles my skin hearing that she's anything. However, I will say this: I don't agree that we should be peddling her viewpoints overseas. I do agree that people should all be treated like humans. They should all have rights throughout the world. Completely agree. But what they do in another country, I don't think is my business. It's not your business. It's not our business as a country, and it certainly isn't AOC's business. But to your point, there was other things. You're 100% correct. There were other things that went over there that I'm more interested in terms of international
yeah.
relations and things like that. I
In terms of
want everybody to
what
have
impacts
rights.
us more too, and um, yeah, for sure. And also, one thing I like to point out is that this wasn't like part of an official statement. This wasn't official U.S. policy, anything like that. This was a video that she made on her
Right.
Instagram, or so it wasn't that she's talking to the prime minister over there and definitely pushing. She just suggested, and we're Americans, so I definitely believe she has that right to express herself. She happens to be a representative of the United States, but at the same time, she also does have the ability to express herself.
Yeah, I agree. It was a 40-minute or something long video she did
Yes,
on
video.
TikTok or whatever platform she uses. I could never sit and tolerate that for 40 minutes. However, I do support her rights. She is also an American, whether I agree with her politics or not. But part of the problem I see with this whole topic is no one's talking. All the headlines I see about this Japan trip, nothing had to do with anything except this. I saw
Yeah.
very little to anything about. There was a little trip over to some rail line that they have over there. That's I don't really understand it a lot, but they have a very sophisticated rail system over there. I do support that they were over there looking at that. Maybe bring that technology back here, but that's what I want to hear about. I want to hear things that are going to make everything better. If you're going to be involved in world relations, fine. But as far as peddling some of our wokeism from this country out, can't get on board with that, man. I just can't get on board
No,
with it because
I
we all
understand, man,
believe that
and
they should have their rights here throughout the world. And if she wants to peddle this, is she going to ever go over and peddle this philosophy over in the Middle East or places? She wants to be a mouthpiece. She could go there and do it as well. or
Well,
not
for
there,
sure.
but do it on
Why not? You
TikTok.
know, it's I mean, they're humans at the end of the day. So it's and we're not talking about, you know, converting anybody to being gay.
Right.
You know, you don't have to be gay, nothing like that. She never advocated for that. She's asking for, you know, rights that they currently don't enjoy. So one of the things is that in Japan, if you're gay, you can't you're if you have a children or anybody else, they can't inherit anything that you leave them. It's against the law. They only acknowledge common law marriage. So in things like this is where I support those rights, because these are humans. They've saved up that money. They want to pass down that money. And that's just one instance. But it also I had some notes here, but it prevents several other things. It's not just about gay marriage or things like that. It's just that certain rights that we enjoy, you know, passing benefits to your partner, things like that, that they're not able to do. I 100% support it, and I don't see a problem with her speaking out. So that's where we definitely do disagree. You did bring up the high speed rail. She was over there for, you know, several other things. This is just a
Correct.
attention grabber, which also brings up the point that it's kind of the media that's pushing this. You know,
Correct.
this
Completely
particular
agree.
story, you know, was mostly covered by the right wing media. Nothing wrong with that, but they didn't cover anything about the high speed rail. She brought up an important topic, which I don't think enough people are talking about, but the sunscreen usage in Japan. Apparently, they have much better sunscreen than what we have access to, and that's due to the FDA regulations here. So she brought up that topic as well. It doesn't make headlines, and you know, which is part of the problem here, and kind of why we started this show to begin with. It's just, you know, to get
Yeah.
past the headlines and just kind of dive a little bit deeper into it. We obviously
Right.
disagree on this topic, but you know, there are things that we can find common ground here. There are things that we do agree with. You know, why was the delegation over there? That's definitely a good, you know, a good question, but it's been done before. This isn't the first delegation. It won't be the last. They do this with a lot of countries, and we kind of go back and forth and exchange.
Yeah. Let me just say that, you know, this is part of what we're trying to show people here is you and I can have an intelligent conversation, and there's no harm in that. I don't fault you for your opinion. We're having an intelligent conversation right now, in my opinion, but we also believe, you know, we've been talking for quite a while now. You know, we work together, so, you know, in conversation, we also believe that a lot of this spice that we get in the United States anymore doesn't really come from us down here at our level. It comes from the talking heads in the media and the upper echelon elite politicians. And which brings the point up that you just made. This topic we're talking about only made headlines with certain people, but they don't want to give. They want to give you the one that's going to piss everybody off.
Yes.
LGBTQ stuff. That doesn't piss me off. I got news for Fox and CNN and everybody else who wants to, because there was a lot more. Is a lot more to this story. It doesn't piss me off because I want everyone to have their rights. That's it around the world. Problem I have is I want our people here to have their rights first before I'm worried about anything that's going on in Japan or anywhere else. However, we all are humans, except here we're all Americans. That's my primary focus. But to that point of other things going on, and to be fair, I'm not a fan of AOC, period. Not ever going to be. However, she also apparently they visited, was it Fukushima? One
Yes,
of the
the nuclear
nuclear
plant.
sites. And I guess in that visit, she is willing to at least sit down and have a discussion about nuclear power. You know, her with all her green blah, blah, blah stuff. Cool, I get it. But if you're at least willing to be open minded enough, even her, and she apparently has a small little snippet of open mindedness to have that discussion, I want to talk about that. You know, no one's saying that she's at least willing to sit down and have that conversation, which I think is crucial to our country.
Yeah.
So she was trying to educate herself on a nuclear disaster, which I don't remember when that was, 2000 something, but it doesn't matter. It's of interest to me, regardless of her party affiliation. I want to know what we're doing here to try to make this country better. And if she's willing to educate herself on one thing, I can appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
for
she
sure.
has 100 things she don't do right. So.
Yeah. We can start out with the small stuff. That is important, and it's technology that we should be employing more here of the United States. Here we have a big thing with the storage of the nuclear waste, which is why it's not more adopted or more widespread. Chris is from Pennsylvania. They have 3 Mile Island up there. I'm sure a lot of you guys learned about that in school. But we should, or it's at least a conversation that we should be having. So he's absolutely correct. We should be talking about more of those things that will affect us Americans. So that we can definitely agree on. Anything to support the United States, our infrastructure, our people's rights, things like that. I definitely agree with. I also happen to agree. They're able to speak their mind. So that's what she was doing. It was a
So,
private video, so I understand where she was
so,
coming from.
so all that being said, what do we do about this moving forward? What do we do about the topic at hand? There's millions of them. There's no shortage of information for Josh and I to talk about and agree about some things, disagree about everything. Some things we may change each other's mind. That's fine. I'm open to that. We're both open-minded, but what do we do about the problem at hand? And the problem I see here is we have a difference of opinion. Fine, I get it. But a lot of that's stemming from the where we consume our information from as a Republican, as a liberal, as a country. We're consuming information that's biased and one-sided. I don't have a problem with LGBTQ stuff. I don't do it. Like I said, I don't want to do it, but you are American. You're free to do what you want. And it's as simple as that to me. I don't see why the media and, a lot of our upper echelon politicians like AOC, like the Marjorie Taylor Greene, and we're going to get to her, folks, because she's another participant in the Weenie Mobile. But I don't see a real argument here. I really don't. I don't really know a lot of people, anybody, as a matter of fact, that have a problem with gay people. Does it exist? Absolutely. But they have the same rights I have and you have, regardless of what they want to do with their life. It's America. We're free people to do as we please and love who you want to love. So that's my solution. Let's all just not, you do you, I'll do me. That's it.
Yeah,
It's cut and dry
for sure. We should let people live their own lives, not get involved in them. That's part of, what makes us all Americans, regardless of what you believe in, who you love. I don't see a problem with it. We definitely should be more involved here. She should, but expressing her opinions about another country, that's fine as well, because she's, an American citizen and she absolutely has that right. So, thankfully, we don't live in the Middle East. We don't
It's
live,
fine. It's fine
in
that
those
she can
countries.
talk. I just think it's divisive in certain ways. But like I said, I'll give her credit where credit's due, and she did do something of my interest over there. So we can build on that. We can build on that for sure.
Yeah. And brings us, a little bit about what we want to do here. Of course, Chris is a Republican. I'm a Democrat, and we're going to be bringing ideas, or we're going to be bringing stories like this to you guys once a week, and we're going to discuss them like normal Americans, like what you would do at home or what you would do at work. Me and Chris happen to be coworkers, and we have these conversations all the time at work. So that's why we wanted to start this show. That's why we're doing what we do, and we hope you guys are joining us and explore some of these stories with us as we're doing them.
Just get along, folks. That's all we're trying to do. Yeah. We come from two completely separate political sides. We're from two culturally different places. And part of our plan here is to make everyone understand I'm not the big bad Republican that the media says. He's not the big bad liberal that the media says. We do seem to have common ground on that for sure, that they kind of seed and water the division in this country. And that's our opinion. I believe you would agree to that, Josh.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, the media definitely has a large role to play with the current division in this country. You'll find out, Americans, and I'm sure most of you guys know, but we're not as divided as what it seems, which leads us kind of into Marjorie Taylor Greene and her.
They don't want this. They don't want this kind of dialogue because it doesn't go well for the people that I'm not supposed to like you because you're this, and that, and you're not supposed to like me. Well, guess what? Unless we talk to each other, there's absolutely no reason for us to not like each other. We've been having this show for months. We just haven't been
Yep.
filming it. So that being said, in the end, I would say we agree on some stuff. We have some disagreements, but wasn't all that painful, right?
Right. And, we're able to discuss it. We're able to get past it. So that's what we think everybody else should be doing. We're not as, we're not going at each other's throats. We're having these conversations with respect. I respect where Chris is coming from. And, he obviously has a different background than me. So I definitely understand, that he would have differences of opinion with me. No problem. We're both Americans. We both have to live here, and we both have to try to make this country keep moving forward. So that's what this is
And
all
we get
about.
along just fine. I mean,
Yep.
even though you think AOC's a hero and I think she's a zero, we can agree to disagree on some stuff, and we're all going to have our favorite politicians. Speaking of other politicians, just real quick, while we're on in the weenie mobile sorting out the weenies that run the country, you want to real quickly, there's not a whole lot of substance here, but you want to hit on Marjorie Taylor Greene and her stupid statement she just made not long ago?
Yeah, we can definitely touch on that
I
briefly.
don't want to waste a lot of time on it,
And
but
it's
I
such a
think it
dumb
kind of
thing, man.
meshes. It
Yeah,
meshes with AOC a little bit because these are two of the I guess they're still considered freshman politicians. I don't know. I don't really care. But since we beat up AOC, or I beat up AOC as best I could, let's talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene here, a Republican that made a stupid statement, a stupid tweet about divorcing. You can go read the tweet online. It's I don't know it verbatim, but it was basically the point of it was to divorce the country red and blue. And, to be fair, we have a problem with politicians on both sides because they have a tendency to be divisive on your side and mine. But my problem with Miss Green's comment is it's extremely divisive. We all have a right to our opinion. We don't have a right to our own facts, but we have a right to have an opinion on those facts. And a lot of her facts aren't quite right, and from what I'm gathering. And to further divide the country with a stupid statement is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And this is why we're in the mess we are, because a lot of people listen to her. A lot of people listen to AOC and some of the I mean, we have a lot of politicians. You only know about 15 or 20 of them that are constantly in the media. And as far as my disagreements with AOC, I got just as many with this stupid tweet that Marjorie Taylor Greene put out, because you're supposed to be uniting the country, not supposed to be dividing us further.
yeah, absolutely correct. I think it's one of the dumbest things that a politician has tweeted out, maybe ever. I've never seen such divisive language being used.
I don't know about ever. I've seen AOC put out some stupid tweets too, but
Hey, when she calls for splitting the country up, then you let
yeah,
me know, because
this one was
I'll be on your
by
side at
far
that point.
worse.
But yeah,
Yeah.
man, it's really, there's no defending it. There's no defending it. She's putting the country at risk. There's some wackos out there that will take this literally, that will embolden their views and how they see the country now. Don't get me wrong, it's not all kumbaya. There are differences in this country. But we're all Americans. We have to try to make it work, which is, one of the reasons we started this show. We're trying to show that we can have differences of opinion. We're all still living in this country. We all have to try to get along and try to make this world better. Language like that only serves to divide us. There's no room for it, I believe, especially from an elected official. You wouldn't accept those comments from your boss at work. You wouldn't accept those comments from your coworker. Why should an elected official not be held to an even higher standard? It's ridiculous to me.
Yeah. So what do we do about that? I mean, what kind of common ground can we come to with this? I say people need to pay attention to their politicians. And when there's a ridiculous talk that comes out of someone's mouth, that's one of our representatives, remember that on election day and vote, people. If you think that she's a good idea and you want to go down the path of Josh and I can't work together because he's a liberal and I'm a Republican, or he can't live in my state and I can't move to California if I want to live there, or Josh can't live in Florida if he wants to. That's not what we're about in this country. It truly isn't, people. And
That is
the best solution I have is pay attention to what these people are talking about, and come election time, get them out. Get them
Yeah,
out.
yeah. Absolutely. That's as anti-American as you can get. If you're an American, you believe in freedom of expression, freedom of free movement, all those things. However, those come with a limit. You can't go into a theater and yell fire. I can't call for the overthrow of the government. There's things that are there's limits to these rights. So she's an
Yeah,
American. She
we
absolutely has
both
the right to express herself. But being an elected
correct.
official, you should be held to a higher standard. At a minimum, I believe she should be censured um, by her own party, by the Republicans. There, Kevin McCarthy should really step up. But yeah, it's really divisive comments, and pay
And,
attention
and
on
and
election day.
in the end, there's no place for it on either side,
Nope, not at all.
because in the end, you and I on different sides of the aisle live and die by the sword of these people, and we're trying to get to a point where we can get along. And I think they're a large part of the problem in this country.
Absolutely
Anyway,
correct.
that's all I got to say for today. You got anything else?
Yeah, yeah, no. That's our first show here. So I hope you guys keep tuning in every week. We're gonna try to keep it fresh and discuss new topics. If you guys have any ideas for us, be sure to let us know. Share this with your neighbors, with your friends, co-workers,
of
anybody like
any
that.
of any race, any religion, anything. We're here to talk. We're here to talk together, and find things we can find common ground on. And that being said, everybody have a good week. We will see you next week. Everybody try to have meaningful conversation. Get along. Peace, America.